secret story, Eric smiled smugly to himself. She was his now, she was close now, and for that matter, so was Eric, moving a little away so that she sat straight and breathing heavily. Though it was softening now, sure was, he replied haughtily. Eric laughed lightly, his smile never fading. You really needed that, huh? He asked, already knowing the answer, and watched as his friend's girl nodded brightly. Totally, she answered, as she lightly wrapped her arms loosely around his neck, and I'm glad you took care of me. Eric grinned at that. Make me some breakfast, and so casually, too, as if she hadn't just cheated on her boyfriend whom she loved. And who she had been on the phone with in the middle of it. 2. Anything for my mate's girl, he teased, and so, Eric went about preparing breakfast. The bed squeaked, and the headboard banged for an hour, as the two collapsed in heavy panting and tiredness. Alicia curled up beside her boyfriend's friend, noticing the time. Nick wouldn't be back for a while longer. However, the two lay there, catching their breath, and all the while, Alicia's unaware boyfriend carried on his work. Nick was oblivious. Nick packed his things and made sure everything was turned off before he left the room that he had been working in for what seemed like hours. He had managed to get everything done today and more, even calling his beautiful girlfriend, no doubt at Guitar Hero. As he made his way out of the building and towards the car, almost burning his hand on the door handle as the sun beat down mercilessly on the metal, as he got into the car and began making his way back home, enjoying the sun, he smiled as he nodded his head to the tunes on the radio. He drove along leisurely, feeling happy and content at the scenes of peace and happiness that filled the streets of the city of taboo dreams. Alicia's eyes widened, but her boyfriend's friend was too far gone to stop. Alicia looked up with one eye open, stunned. I'll stall him, her boyfriend's friend said quickly, before he rushed off to the hall. A second later, Alicia heard her boyfriend's happy voice. Her heart was beating out of her chest. Then she looked around desperately as she heard Nick and Eric approaching. Panicking, she quickly began rubbing her face and neck. She had just gotten to her feet when Nick walked in with Eric behind him. Hey, babe, her handsome boyfriend said as he walked towards her. Suddenly her eyes caught sight of Eric pointing to his hair. For a moment, Alicia looked at him confusedly before she touched her hair. You look all red, babe, Nick commented as he let her go. The whole hug only took a second or so. It's really hot outside. Are the windows open? He turned to look around as he waved a magazine, trying to cool himself down, and Alicia gave Eric a quick flash of a smile as if to say, that was too close. Ah, it's good to be home, Nick said, tossing the magazine down on the sofa his friend had just been sitting on, getting head from his girlfriend. Looking happily between them, completely unaware of everything that had gone on, he asked, so, how's your day been? Been playing Guitar Hero all day, ah. Both of them smiled before Alicia replied. We've been at it all day, baby, she answered honestly with a small, impish smile at Eric. Fancy a nice cold drink? I know I could do with one. Nick smiled, sure, but I think I'm going to have a nice cooling shower first. It's been hot out there, her sweet boyfriend replied with a smile that lit up his face. It's been hot in here too. Man, Eric added with a smirk, I bet, it's roasting outside, Nick replied with a grin, as he placed an arm around Alicia's slim waist. You staying for dinner? Her loving boyfriend asked sincerely, glancing between her and Nick briefly. Eric shook his head. Nah, man, I think I've taken enough of yours and Alicia's time up, he answered, as he grabbed the top of the door, leaning against it. If you're sure, man, you're welcome, you know, Nick replied, but Eric shook his head. I do want to say thanks again for letting me with Liz though, man. I had fun, he said, and Alicia felt her stomach clench. Her eyes sparkling was not lost on her boyfriend's friend who smiled proudly back at her. Nick simply grinned, obviously thinking he meant last night. Sure thing, man. Thanks for helping us fulfill a fantasy, her boyfriend replied, and Alicia felt her heart racing. Anytime you need me again, man, just let me know, Eric said with a grin, and Alicia felt on fire as she heard Nick laugh again. It was a one-time thing, man, but I'll keep that in mind, he replied, as he squeezed Alicia to him gently. Though he didn't seem concerned in the least. If only he knew just what had happened that day. It's been cool hanging out though. We'll have to do it more. Alicia smiled deeply as she looked into Eric's eyes at that. Definitely, man. I'll be over more often, if you don't mind. Eric said, and Alicia smiled as she looked up into Nick's eyes, nodding gently before Eric smiled and nodded. Cool, he said, before kissing her lightly on the head. He let her go as he made his way towards the door. Well, I really need a shower, man. It's been hell working in this heat. I need to get out of these clothes. So, I'll catch you soon, yeah. Eric took the hand Nick offered and shook it firmly. With a little more conversation, Nick made his way into the bathroom. As the door closed and locked behind him, and the shower turned on, Eric slammed Alicia against the wall. Then she looked at herself in the mirror. Thoughts flashed through her mind of when and how she would be able to see Eric again. More thoughts also ran through her mind. The fact that she had cheated on her boyfriend today, a lot, and that she was planning on doing it again. But what surprised her was that she wasn't feeling guilty about it. Oh, she loved Nick with all of her heart, and seeing him made her feel so happy. What little worry touched her was soothed as Alicia thought that besides, Nick had been the one to open this Pandora's box, and in the days to come, she was going to take it a lot more. One last thought flashed through the gorgeous girlfriend's mind, wicked, naughty smile on her beautiful face. Nick had brought 3 of his friends back last night. And Eric had boasted that he would tell them all about the night Nick had let him have his girlfriend. And what they had missed by leaving early. Maybe she would get to know them all a little better. Maybe she could hint at Nick bringing them all over for a night of playing games. Yes, and send him out for something. Nick had opened Pandora's box, and now his girlfriend and friends were going to enjoy what came out, a lot. But that was to come, to be continued.